Welcome everyone to another episode of Modesty. This is your host, Diana Rivera Rosario, and we are here with Diana Mayorga.
If you weren't at my wedding, you wouldn't know what
that's true.
that joke is.
Is Diana Singh with us in the room? Or what's happening? But okay, perfect. I'm excited. Diana's back. Thank you for coming back.
Yes, of course.
And we have our information on here, so if you see us looking down, it's because we're reading. Let's be real. We're reading.
Taina's reading.
I am reading because I want to make sure I get the questions asked. But as you know, the title of this episode is Mom Life, Marriage, and a Whole Lot of Jesus. Praises. So let's jump into the first question.
Yeah.
So saying that you grew up with only pretty much your sisters, myself, people from church, how has being a mother of two boys shaped your perspective on life?
So this is a really good question because it made me really think. And I came up with a couple different answers.
Okay.
But none of them were it, except this one.
Okay.
Because that's how deep the question was. Like, it really made me indagar, like dig deep.
Okay.
So when I found out that I was going to have two boys, I was going to be a mom of two boys, I assumed or thought that I was supposed to be rough, tough, that I was supposed to be, have that strong hand with them all the time. And I figured if I was that way, they would then respect me.
Okay.
And I'd be raising them properly because they're boys.
Right.
But I've come to the realization that that's not the case. Because this question itself, like I've gone through it in like phases almost with the kids. And I've realized that the essence of my role as a mom is to be the nurturer, is to be the caregiver, is to be the one who soothes, the one who kisses the boo-boos and makes everything better.
Right.
And that really opened up my eyes when I came to that realization, because I'm like, okay, let me then flow in what it is I'm supposed to flow in as a mom for these boys, and let their father, my husband, be the one to be the disciplinary one, the one to lay down the law, the one to set the ground rules,
Right.
the ones to correct. And then I back up what he does.
Okay.
And once I started practicing this and being this way, I actually noticed a change in Isaac, my oldest, his behavior. Actually, when I was a little more tougher and rougher around the edges with him, he was a little bit more like put offish. He was having a lot of tantrums, a lot of meltdowns. He was very hard to console, different things. But when I started just being that nurturer, that caregiver, showing him all the love possible, and just being his mom and letting Cesar be the dad,
Right.
I noticed a huge 360. So does this mean that I never correct or that I can never discipline? No, but that's not my primary role.
Right. Okay. So then what would you say has been like the most challenging part? Because the two boys, they're both under the age of 2 years old.
Yeah.
Right. So you've come to this realization that, hey, like, okay, I don't have to be so rough with them. I should be nurturing, things like that.
Yeah.
So then from the moment that you realized it and before, what would you say has been the most challenging part?
Of navigating through that change or dealing with them itself?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
So dealing with 2 under 2 is just, anyone who has done it, they know the challenges. I mean, it's just their ages where they demand so much and require so much. Like, you need to assist them for every single little thing. So I have a toddler who's going potty, so I'm helping him, clean up, and I'm helping him put his clothes back on. And then in that moment, I have an infant who's tugging at my leg, screaming mama because he wants to nurse. So it's like there's this constant tug of war, or like back and forth of like, okay, you both need me right now, but like, how can I cover all my bases and take care of all the needs, and not neglect anybody or any of the needs? So it's just been a juggling act. It's always just, okay, what's like, I need to get to this right now. So let's get this bum cleaned up. Let's get your pants up, and let's get you out the bathroom. And you, Mally, come on, let's go. Let's get that feed. So it's just that balancing everything with the two, balancing motherhood with everything else in my life. Because I give all day long, the kids are just home. They're with me. They're never anywhere else. And I give motherhood 100%. So then once it comes time for me to leave the house to attend something that's related to the ministry, or for me to be a wife, I still have to give my all, even when I have no strength, or regardless of how exhausted I may be. So I think that's the most challenging thing with 2 under 2, is just the balancing act between the two of them, and the balancing act between motherhood and the rest of my responsibilities.
Would you say that you've been able to navigate it a little bit more easy? Like, you have a better flow now compared to when Mally was like newborn, right?
I would say so. I would say so, just for the simple fact that as kids get older, that dependency on you lessens, right? So they need you a little tiny bit less, because now they're not learning how to walk. Now they know how to walk. Now they're not potty training. They're just using the potty. Now they're not learning how to eat on their own. Now they're just simply eating. So things do ease up a tiny bit. So because of that, I think I have a better grip on things, and I have a tiny little bit of more wiggle room to kind of get to other things and navigate through everything else.
Okay. All right. So before we enter into the faith and spiritual aspect of things, right? We've already talked about kind of like your perspective with the boys. We've talked about what's kind of been more challenging with 2 boys. But let's have like a sweet moment. Okay. Share with us one moment, if you can come up with just one, because I'm pretty sure there's probably like multiple moments. One moment with your boys that completely like just melted your heart, that you're just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that's tough, because like you said, there's been a lot of moments like that. And I'm a pretty emotional person. So it's pretty easy to melt my heart. Like, I'm not cold or indifferent. So sweet things really get to me. Okay. So because there's so many, trying to think of like the more recent things. I'll give one example of Isaac and one of Malachi. Okay. So with Isaac, one day I was getting ready. I believe it was to go to church in the morning or something. And I'm dressed. I had fixed my face a bit. I was fixing up my hair a little bit. Just finishing up. I was just about done. And Isaac walks into the room, and he's like, wow, Mom. Beautiful.
No, he didn't.
Mind you, I didn't really feel beautiful that day. So instant waterworks. I just grabbed him. I squeezed him, and I was just like, thank you so much, Isaac. Like, that's so sweet of you. That's so sweet. Thank you for telling Mommy that, So that was one moment, like, recently. And then with Malachi, so he doesn't really talk yet, as you know. He's only 11 months. What?
Ma'am, his birthday is next week.
Is next week. It's Valentine's Day, February 14th.
He was born on El Día
del
Amor.
Amor. Yeah.
He got me stuck.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah.
So he's babbling, he's repeating some stuff or whatever, but he does say mama.
Okay.
So for me, something that isn't a one-time thing, it happens all the time, but it always gets to me, is when he wants me to pick him up. So he's on the floor sitting down and he's like, mama, mama. So, okay, I pick him up, but then he like pats me.
Really?
And like squeezes at the same time, like as I'm holding him. So that always gets to me. Yeah. Yeah. So those are like the most recent little things.
And honestly, like they're so cute though. Let's jump into what I feel like people are waiting to hear. I could be wrong.
Dun, dun, dun,
but so we have a number of new moms, right? We even have dads who are, you know, really trying to take care of their kids. They're figuring out the whole parenting thing. You know, just they're either new at this or they've been in it for a while, but you know, they still have just things that they're trying to figure out, right, as they go. So, you know, maybe some of them feel alone, maybe some of them feel a little hopeless, maybe some of them they're just trying to see like who else is out there. I am so sorry about the background noise. There's people cleaning right now inside the church, so but yeah, so there's some people that they're probably just trying to hear like that they're not alone, right? So with that being said, I just want to start off with the other question that is what does your daily walk with God look like amidst the busyness of the family life?
It is very spontaneous.
Okay.
It's spontaneous, it's unplanned, it's sometimes very unexpected.
Okay.
And by unexpected, I mean, I could be in the car and I'll just put some music on and I'll just begin to talk to God as I'm driving, because it's literally been the only moment of the day that I have like that quiet and that time of peace and tranquility to do it. So I'll start talking to God, and I kid you not, there's been moments where I'm driving and this happens and I literally will just feel the car just fill with the Holy Spirit, like just like a rush. Like, and I can't contain myself. People passing by me must think I'm crazy because I'm literally just crying, sobbing, I'm talking out loud because I'm praying, and I'm by myself, you know, they can see the car's empty. But it's just those moments, they're unexpected, and that's been my walk with God lately in this stage of life. It looks completely different than it used to.
Okay.
I had my set schedule before kids when I used to pray. And I had my set place where I used to pray. So now I don't have a set schedule and I don't have a set place. It's anywhere, anytime.
Did you feel kind of bad or guilty at first?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, Lord, I'm not giving you
for sure.
the time.
There's moments even till this day I feel that way sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. But it's been interesting because even though my walk with God has changed, I've gotten to know him on a different level, even in the midst of that change. So it's taught me that it's all me, Diana.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with you.
Right.
And I learned that because with ministry, Cesar and I are living the busiest, most demanding times of our ministry. And we're living the busiest, most demanding times of our lives at home. So that being said, there's things that I need to take care of and I need to attend in the church or with the women. I work very closely one-on-one with women. And, you know, there's been times where I've even told Cesar, like, I have to go to this meeting. And I know this meeting is going to lead to a liberation. I know it. And I haven't even had 5 minutes to look for God today,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I have learned and I have witnessed how it's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
It's all God.
Yeah.
So the thing is that God sees your heart. God knows what I'm doing with my day all
Yeah.
day, every day. And He knows that when I have the opportunity to talk to Him and seek Him and devote time to Him, I will and I do. But motherhood is my number one ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm giving that my all. I'm giving it 110%.
Yeah.
So God sees the heart. And when He sees that your heart is in the right place and your heart is pure before Him, you can spend 10 hours on a mountain praying and fasting.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a nasty heart, if your heart is not right before God, if your heart is not clean and transparent before Him,
Mm-hmm.
your sacrifice is completely null and void. It's invalid.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. I've learned to get to know God in a different way through all of this.
How do you give yourself grace in those moments where you feel like you want to give the Lord time, but you just can't? You know, like your time is with your kid that's crying, screaming, you're trying to figure out if they're hungry, if they're tired, if they need a shower. You know, like what is it? So how have you extended yourself grace in those moments?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that it's in the fact that motherhood is a ministry. When I realized that motherhood is a ministry and it's my number one ministry, it's my first ministry before the church, before anything else. It's me
Your
being
outlook like
mom.
changes.
Yeah,
Okay.
it changes. The thing is, if you're giving motherhood your all, you're honoring God with that, right? You're honoring God with every meal you put before your kids. You're honoring God with every wipe to that stinky bum.
Girl.
You're honoring God with every bath that you draw for
Yeah.
them. You're honoring God with every load of clothes you wash so that they can have something clean to wear. You're honoring God every time you wipe their nose and soothe them when they're sick.
Wow.
And breaking, nights with them. You're honoring God. Now, if you're neglecting that area, then we're talking about something different.
Yeah.
If you're neglecting motherhood and neglecting your spiritual life, or not neglecting your spirit, you're neglecting motherhood and you're saying, I don't have time for God, then there's a problem.
Okay.
Now, if you're giving your all in motherhood and you're worshiping through motherhood,
right,
and you're looking for God every single moment you possibly can. I mean, that's grace. That is, you got to understand that and give yourself grace. It's a different story now, like I said.
Yeah.
If you're a mom and you're not giving 100% to motherhood, there's no excuse then.
Yeah.
Your relationship with God should be at 100 then. Because what are you doing with your time? So that's a whole different topic.
That's a whole other episode, okay?
That's a whole other cup of tea.
That's otros 20 pesos, como decimos, okay? But okay, no, that's really good. Like I don't think that I really thought about it that. I mean, I had no reason to, but like to think about the way that you're honoring the Lord, even while you're doing that, taking care of your kids and also taking care of your husband if you're married, right? Like as well, because I feel like sometimes when people have children, and I think I'm skipping a bunch of stuff on here, and that's okay. But I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, from your experiences or your experience, like there are cases where mothers get so caught up in taking care of their kids that they neglect their spouse. I'm not saying all cases, but have you ever almost came close to that? Or do you know what I mean? Do you feel comfortable kind of sharing?
Yeah.
You know?
I think it was more when Isaac was born because we waited so long for Isaac. And not only because we waited so long for him, but because Isaac, he was my first. He was my first, and I was home all day with him. He always had my undivided attention and time. And I remember Sister telling me one time, hey, I need you to still love me too.
Mm.
And it was because I was giving Isaac too much of my time, where then Cesar was starting to feel left out, was starting to feel put aside. So then I started to make some changes and try to rearrange some things so that Cesar would no longer feel that way.
Do you remember how that made you feel when Cesar expressed that?
I think it bothered me. I think it upset me a little bit, but then I was thinking about it and I started to reflect on how I would conduct myself and how I would carry out my days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it is true. Like I do invest way too much time here and not much over here. So I had to find a good way to balance and like spread myself out for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once I realized that, then I felt kind of bad.
Okay.
And I wanted to change it.
See, but that's good though, because first of all, the fact that Cesar even expressed.
Yeah, I've worked with Cesar a lot. Just saying.
Yeah.
I've worked with him a lot because guys don't talk much.
That's true.
That's just the thing. Like guys don't talk much, and I talk a lot. Like I'm very vocal, and I like to get down to the nitty gritty and get to the root of things. And Cesar now, he expresses himself. He'll tell me things. He'll talk. So But yeah. So wives out there, if you see that, you're having trouble, with communication and things like that, just be honest. My grandma always used to say, hablando uno se entiende. So just talking, you always understand one another. Like, hey, what's going on? Hey, tell me how you feel. Well, how can I be better? What can I do to change things? What can I do to make things flow a little nice, a little bit better in this house? Like, let me know.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. So then the next question, like, have there been moments in motherhood, right, where you felt like your faith was being really tested? And how did you navigate through that? Or have you ever found yourself in a moment where you're like, wow, I'm like really struggling?
Yes. Yeah. So Isaac, he's 2.5. He sleeps great now. He sleeps basically through the night. There's that odd 1 or 2 times where he'll be like, Mom, and you just go back and shh, and he goes right back to sleep. But Malachi, he was a good sleeper up until about 6 months. Around 6 months, I noticed a huge change in his sleep. And with Isaac, when he was around that age too, I was challenged with his sleep as well. Like it was a huge problem. I've tried everything, guys. I've tried it all.
They really have, honestly.
I've tried everything. And Isaac still would never sleep. So we're finally, like I said, at a point where he sleeps. But Mally, ever since he turned 6 months, he doesn't sleep. So what do I mean by he doesn't sleep? He wakes up as if he was a newborn. He wakes up every 2 hours. Wow. So every 2 hours, I'm awake with an 11th-month-old, like since he was 6 months. And people are like, oh, he's probably hungry. I can give him a full plate of food before bed.
That boy can eat.
Okay, like he's exclusively breastfed, but also just, started his solids. I can give him a plate of food before going to bed, and that child will still wake up 2 hours after that plate of food.
He's like, give me another plate of food.
I don't know what else to do. Báñalo con leche, báñalo con cilantro, báñalo con hojas de lechuga, whatever. I've tried it all. Okay, like I've tried everything. Give him chamomile tea. You drink chamomile tea, so I go into your milk. I've done it all.
Wow.
I've done it all. We've hired sleep consultants. I've done it all. The child doesn't sleep. Isaac never used to sleep either. So I am one sleepless woman.
But honestly, you look great though for me.
Thanks.
Like I look
for the amount of sleep I get. Thanks.
I look like I'm the one who has kids that are not sleeping.
Stop.
On a daily basis.
Stop.
But no, let me stop.
No, so I think that that's been my biggest challenge. And it's something that I pray about. I prayed about it with Isaac countless times. I pray about it with Mally. There's nights where I will literally cry out to God. And I'm like, pero Dios mío, my God, please have mercy. Like, I literally say, have a mercy.
You're like,
like, please, I need some sleep. Like, please, Lord. And then people might say, well, then let him cry it out. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. The whole cry out method is very controversial. Anyone who has done it, okay, that's fine. That's your business. But it's also, a parent's business when they don't feel comfortable doing it, right? And I've tried to just let him. But I mean, after a certain amount of time, like, there's only so much crying a mom can handle. I can't, and I can't handle it. I can't ignore it. So I always interject. I always intervene, and I help him. So you might say I've brought this upon myself, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. The thing is that I've prayed, I've asked God to help me, and I've seen God do things in my kids based on prayers that we've prayed over them. And he's worked. God has done things. But when it comes to their sleep, I don't know what happens. I feel like that prayer, like, almost like doesn't
pass
the ceiling. Like, it doesn't make it to the throne. It doesn't. And it's something that has challenged me. It challenges me. And yeah, so that's definitely an area. My boys and their sleep.
Oof.
Yeah.
God knows everything, honestly, because when I think about sleep, it's very precious.
And it affects you a lot when you don't get it.
Yeah. Because I know myself, when I'm tired, I'm so moody. And I'm so, like, grouchy, and I just don't.
Well, and then there's all the other things, like the headaches and the dizziness or drowsiness, and that you feel, and the fatigue all day, and the fogginess, the mental fogginess, all the things you have to deal with when you don't have sleep. Moms that don't sleep enough, they're more prone to postpartum depression and all these things. So it's just like, it's been a struggle with the kids' sleep.
Do you take advantage, though, when they are sleeping, and do you also rest? Or are you the mom that's like, they're sleeping, I'm gonna go fold clothes, I'm gonna go wash, I'm gonna do the dishes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason being is because it's not realistic. Anyone who doesn't have a village knows that it's not realistic. You can't sleep when the kids sleep. Now, if you have a village, you have, someone who's coming and helping you with the dishes, and someone who's getting the laundry done for you, and so, yo me voy a dormir también. Like, of course, I'd sleep happily. But when it's you, when it's all you, the longer you put things off, the bigger the piles, the more it accumulates. So when the kids do fall asleep, I'm that mom that's like, dishes, eating, running to the basement to do laundry. Who is laundry? Like, yes, I am that mom. That's trying to get it all done while they're sleeping.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep you in our prayers. Okay, so then, this just sounds like just so much, right? As a mom, and we talked about, the challenges that arise when it comes to, your walk with God, and how do you manage that, things like that.
Yeah.
But let's move over a little bit to you and Sisad.
Okay.
Right? Because you guys are one, and Sisad, for the most part, from what we can see, and he's kind of he's an involved dad. But how do you and Sisad keep Christ at the center of your guys' relationship? I don't mean just individually, but the center of your relationship, the center of your marriage. Especially now that you have the kids, and your attention, I don't know, 90% of the time maybe has to be on them. So how do you guys manage that?
So before the kids, we used to have times where we did like devotionals together.
Mm-hmm.
We would pray together. We would do all these things together. And obviously that would fortify, having Christ as our in the center.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really a thing anymore. So I think one way that we keep Christ as the center of our marriage is being a biblical husband and a biblical wife.
Okay.
So that means me respecting him
Mm-hmm.
and him loving me.
Right.
Even in moments where you feel like this man doesn't deserve my respect right now, or this woman doesn't deserve to be loved right now. But biblically, I need to do this.
Right.
This is a biblical mandate on my end, on my part.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do that, I feel that that's definitely keeping Christ as the center of our marriage. So him loving me and me respecting him. The priorities maintain priorities.
Right.
And priority is me being a good biblical wife and him being a good biblical husband. The rest will come with time. We're gonna have time where we can sit down and have a nice candlelit dinner again. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have a time where we can, go to the movies together again or take a walk, alongside a park or whatever the case may be.
You know what's so funny though? Like I've expressed this to Mom. I'm like, Mom, sometimes I look at Diana and Cesar and they act like they still, that they still love each other because but like it's been what, 8 years that you guys have been married?
11.
11 years. It's been 11 years. You guys have 2 kids. You got your 3rd kid on the way. But you guys like still love each other. And I know that you're like, duh, like, but no, it ain't no duh. Like, like people get to 11 years and they're sick of each other,
Mm-hmm.
And that's something about, I'm like, you see Diana and Cesar, they still like, like I miss Cesar, I miss Diana. You know what I mean? You guys are together, you hug, it's refreshing to see that, because you guys are so busy. You're young pastors, you have kids, like, it's not just about you guys. It hasn't been about just you guys.
I mean, just to record this podcast.
For me to get her here was like, he's with the kids right now. But that's my point. Like, I don't know, whatever you guys are doing, it's visible, as in like it's working, and just that the love is there. It's really nice to like see.
Thank you.
It's
I really appreciate it.
Le da uno como esa esperanza de que, your marriage doesn't have to be miserable all the time, or
of course not.
kids won't ruin your marriage.
No, they're not supposed to. They actually say that if you have kids and then your marriage gets sour or your marriage gets crazy and it gets out of line, those were underlining issues that were always there. And the children just
brought
it afloat.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Did you guys hear that? Where do I go from here? Let's go back to the kids. All right. And you guys, some of you might be mind blown with what I'm about to ask Diana and what she will respond with. And that has to do with technology and screen time. Oh. So when it comes to technology and screen time, how do you handle that in your house with not so much Mally, but with Isaac?
Okay. So this is kind of like the cried out method. It's another topic that's very controversial. I am by no means this drastic, radical, Amish like mother that lives off the grid. By no means. But I try to be conscious of it. Okay, how do we manage it? At home, Taina, you've come to my house a bunch of times.
Yes.
Most of the times you come, the TV's off.
It's
like
just
our TV's not. There are households that the TV's on from the morning until night.
Yeah.
Like nonstop, it's always on. Even if no one's really watching it, it's just on.
Yes.
Not in my house. Like it's only on if we're intentionally watching it. If not, it's off. So with the kids, I don't like Isaac starting off his day watching TV, and I don't like him sitting there all day watching TV. So he only watches TV when it's like our last resort.
Okay.
So when we know that he's played, he's eaten, he's bathed, he's done all his little activities, all his little things throughout the day. And now Cesar and I need 5 minutes to just get ready so that we can get out the door, something like that. Then we'll put the TV on for him. And then we're very careful as well with what he watches. So he doesn't watch just anything either.
He doesn't watch Cocomelon?
Not at all.
I'm just kidding.
I hate Cocomelon. It's the worst.
Yeah, it's not the greatest.
No, I just try to have him watch very low, like slow stimulating. Is that how you say it? Low stimulating?
Yeah.
TV
Talk about TVs. That one just sure. But yeah, because Cocomelon is very like I heard that it's very
there's a lot of like studies have been done on Cocomelon, and
yeah. Look into it. I mean,
just Google it.
Yeah.
The thing is that he watches a lot of like old school cartoons. So like you'll find him watching whenever he does watch TV, which are in little increments.
What he's gonna share with us, like in a day or in a week, the amount of like time that he watches TV.
So he'll watch TV in small increments, and like I said, it's just for me to simply get something done because I've already been with him all day. Like I've already been interacting with him, I've already been playing with him, I've already fed him, I've bathed him, he's ready, but now I gotta get ready and I need a second. So then I'll put something on, and he watches like Franklin, he watches Curious George. Curious George is his absolute favorite. And then some of the more modern, newer stuff is like Blippi or Mika or Miss Rachel and stuff like that. Simple Songs is another one. But that's about it.
Okay.
Like that is, I think, as broad as it gets. I'm really careful with what he sees.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like in a week, how much TV time would you say, or even screen time?
Over a span of a week, well, he doesn't have like iPads or phones or none of that. Like he's not on that at all. It's literally just the TV once in a while. And in a week, it's probably like maybe like 3 hours.
Really?
Throughout the whole week. Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe like 3 hours. The other thing is like when we go out to restaurants and stuff, we really try our best to not, use our phone for him to watch his cartoons or whatever. So we exhaust all our resources. Yeah. We'll play with the chopsticks. We'll walk around and try to get him tired. Yeah. We'll pour water into different cups. We'll shake the salt and pepper shakers until there's nothing left. We'll do everything. And if the child is still like, I've had it, like, then we'll let him watch a few minutes or whatever of Curious George. Yeah. It's just so we can finish our meal.
So there's some questions on here that I feel like it should be for another time.
Okay.
Right, especially since we've talked about the kids and technology and screen time, things like that. But let's start, closing it out.
Just stop with the sayings.
Let's
close shop.
Closing time. All right, I'm gonna ask you this question. So for those of you who are listening, hopefully we get 1 or 2 listeners on here. What's one piece of advice? Actually, it doesn't even have to be just one piece, but what's a piece of advice that you would give a mom that feels like she's failing right now? What is something that maybe you wish you would have received in those moments that you probably felt that way?
I think I don't like things that are cliche. Like I don't like things that are not genuine. AI messages.
Yeah.
Don't like them. I can tell when someone sends me an AI message and I just don't even want to respond.
Like a
Like,
text?
yeah. Like, I don't like anything that's not genuine.
Okay.
So I don't want to sit here and say you're doing a great job.
Because you're not. No,
No.
I'm just kidding. Okay, that was.
So no matter how you feel, you're doing a great job, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to say anything like that.
Okay.
What I do want to say is, you know, if you feel that you're failing, evaluate the areas that you think need help or
Okay.
that you're deficit in or deficient in. Just evaluate yourself as a mom. Because when there's a problem, we need to identify the problem because that's the only way we're going to be able to find a solution. Why do you feel like you're failing? I would encourage you to dig deep and see what it is that maybe you're doing incorrectly,
Okay.
or maybe things you need help with that maybe you need to reach out and get some help. Maybe find someone to give you some guidance, find someone to give you some instruction in a way. Maybe you just don't know. Maybe you're completely clueless altogether at motherhood and need someone to kind of like steer you into the right direction.
Yeah.
Find a support group. There's groups out there for moms. If you're in our area, our church has Covenant Mamas. We have a group here for our moms.
True.
But figure out why it is that you feel that you're failing so that then you can find solutions to those problems or those issues so that you can put forth the best version of yourself to your kids. Sometimes it's internal healing as a mom that you need to do before you can fully be present or be the kind of mom you want to be. You got to deal with some personal things yourself. You know, so just escudriñate, examine yourself, see, hey, like, what's going on? Where can I be better? Where am I falling short? And what can I do about it? So that's what I would say.
So if you had to sum up motherhood in one Bible verse, what would that Bible verse be?
I'm gonna go with. There's a lot of them.
Okay.
There's a lot of them that you could apply. I'm gonna go with Proverbs 31.
Okay.
28 to 29.
Okay.
So if you want, we can look that one.
Yeah.
So that's Proverbs 31, 28 through 29. And I'll explain why I chose that one as well.
Okay, so it says, her children stand and bless her. Her husband praises her. There are many virtuous and capable women in the world, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty does not last, but a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. Reward her for all she has done. Let her deeds publicly declare her praise.
So Proverbs 20 to 29. 31, 20 to 29.
Oh, my bad. I read.
Like, when is she going to stop reading? But, okay, so Proverbs 31, 28 to 29 says, her children stand and bless her. Her husband praises her. There are many virtuous and capable women in the world, but you surpass them all.
Amen.
So I chose this one out of so many verses that could apply to motherhood, because I liked how it mentions the children and the husband, and how there are so many women in the world, but there's something about you.
Yeah.
You know, so to me, it addresses so when we speak about motherhood, for me, it entails me as mom for my kids, but also me as wife for my husband.
Yeah.
And me as a woman. So like motherhood has its like components. And I love how these two verses, they kind of encapsulate all of that. Because we want to be blessings to our children and bless them to the point that they get to bless us, right? And so that's what this verse is saying. Verse 28, and her husband praises her. So she's such a good mom. She's such a good wife that she's worthy of some acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Like, él se quita su sombrero to her, you know? And I really, that's big for me. Like, it matters what my husband thinks. It matters how my husband feels. And I want to make sure that I'm pleasing not only to my children, but also to my husband. Because I can't really separate too much motherhood from me as a wife in a lot of ways. So I love that verse. And then 29 ends, with, there are many virtuous and capable women in the world, but you surpass them all. God gives you the grace, God gives you the wisdom, God gives you the strength, God gives you the ability to do what you do. And there's the world is full of women, but God's gonna give you something special.
Yeah,
for your
like
family.
your husband and your kids are gonna, like, those women are not gonna compare to how they see you. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you, Diana, for coming on
Thank you for having me.
another episode of Modest Tea. Honestly, like, it's always a good time whenever we do record.
It is.
But yeah, so I hope this isn't the last time.
Yeah, that's
maybe
up
we
to
can.
you.
That is also true. But I think that a lot of people, or a number of people, whoever watches, they're gonna receive something good.
I hope so.
From it. So, which is the whole point.
Yes.
So, once again, thank you everyone for tuning in, for watching our video. And as always, we will catch y'all another time. So, bye.